Hi, I'm James McQuaid. I was the executive producer and the visual effects supervisor on Underworld. The visual effects supervisor is responsible for everything that isn't captured in camera, or everything that needs to be augmented after production has wrapped, and whether that be using CG, I guess is obviously the most obvious example of what a tool that visual effects uses, but we also used on this picture miniature work. The big car crash, or the car going into the water, was a miniature shoot. Interesting thing about Underworld is, despite what it may appear to be the case, there are probably 400 visual effects shots in the picture. Some of them are the obvious ones with, creatures transforming, or the werewolves landing on the roof of the train. But then there are other subtler things that aren't evident, like pretty much anytime you see a character in a car, the background behind them is CG. It was all created after the fact, dropped in after the fact, was not shot practically. The reason Luma was hired, I'd worked with Luma, pretty much every movie I think Luma's ever done has been with me. So really a great company, and really terrific at CG backgrounds.
My name is Payam Shahadi. We're at Luma Pictures. We do visual effects for film and getting more and more into commercials. We used a combination of 2D and 3D processes. We modeled out everything we needed to model, but then a lot of times, because we knew that speed continuity would be a major issue, we would render out the 3D elements in a single frame, another single frame, another single frame, and we'd stitch them together and then move them around in the comp with different layers to maintain the speed that the client wants. There's nothing inherent in CG that would not allow it to be 100% photorealistic. CG is able to look identical to something you filmed.
There's a shot where the werewolves climb to the top of the train, which we tried to do practically, and I would assume probably the result of the practical attempt will be in the gag reel, because it looked absolutely horrendous. The creatures sort of flop up there, look very Creature from the Black Lagoon, and just are comical. Len, of course, saw that, knew we could never use that, but it was a key shot to see those werewolves on top of the train. So we went back and we worked with a company called CFC, Framestore CFC in London, and came up with a shot that exists in the picture right now. I wanted to have a company that could provide the same level of CG, 3D CG expertise that they had done on Dinotopia, and do it at the same sort of price, in essence. So CFC obviously did a brilliant job, and one of the 2 or 3 best 3D CG companies in the world in terms of transformation, particularly the one in the subway. We shot a background plate so that we would have the back of the subway. Then we shot the actor Kevin against green, so he would be separated from the background, and he went through all the motions, all the shaking and things that went into the transformation. And then we shot a guy in the werewolf costume, basically the same head size, same frame as Kevin, and then we gave those elements basically to Framestore CFC. They also had scans of Kevin's head, and they had a scan of course, the werewolf head, and were able to create a morph that gave the sense of it actually, of this werewolf face growing out of this human face.
I'm Martin Hunter. I was the editor of Underworld. A lot of the time when you see a movie, there are visual effects which people aren't aware are visual effects. The very opening scene of the movie, the jump from the bell tower, you might think that was all stunt work, but it was a combination of stunt work and close-ups of the actual actors and some of the stunt people jumping from the bell towers. The first vampire to jump, Rigel, was actually shot against a green screen for the beginning of the shot. and then the background was composited in there. And then there's this great shot of the camera moving in slowly on Scott, and the windscreen is cracking, and the water is pouring into the car. What's actually happening is that Scott and Kate are on a dry stage. There's some water pouring into the car, and the windscreen was put in with CGI. And the cracks were added, but it's very effective because you get this sense of impending danger as the windscreen's cracking more and more, and you know that it's eventually going to give way and the car is going to be filled with water. The sequence where Lucian gets hit by the car, the very first I saw of that was some shots of stuntmen jumping up and down on a green trampoline, and it didn't look terribly impressive. Then we got shot from the same angle, which was a locked-off camera above the trampoline, which was in the middle of the road. We got shots of Celine's car driving by, and the very first thing we did in the Avid was to do simple 50% superimposition of the two shots, and that still didn't look very impressive. Once we got the composite back from visual effects and cut it with the close live action of the car coming towards Lucian and body come flying 20 feet up to the camera in the air, it was very impressive. The editor's job is to take the best of everybody's work and make it all work as a whole.
Well, we shot obviously the real actor with prosthetic wounds on his forehead or on his arm or his chest. We actually did little filaments that we could actually move the wounds a bit, so we had a sense of practical movement. And the bullets themselves we had shot a reference so people understood. We knew what the bullets looked like, and the CFC knew what the bullets actually looked like. And then they basically animated from there. I mean, we created a little 3D bullet model which popped out of the prosthetic wound. But again, like many other things in this picture, what sells it, to me at least, is like the blood that oozes and things that we didn't shoot practically, but these little tiny details that make the shot seem, absolutely real. That kind of thing is imperative to the success of these shots. Visual effects don't work by themselves. They can't exist without the editor cutting them correctly, and without the sound designer providing an appropriate sound, and of course the composer adding music on top of it all. It's all just part of the process of finishing the picture.